ladder climb was very embarrassing, very hard to watch. Hey y'all, it's Nate. Welcome back to my little corner of YouTube. This video will contain spoilers for Survivor 45 episode 1, so if you haven't seen it yet and you don't want spoilers, save this video and come back after you do. I am so happy and a little bit nervous to be covering this show. I started watching Survivor back in 2020 during quarantine. It was one of my binges. And I basically started from season 1. Now, I didn't make it all the way to 44. I pretty much watched a lot of the older seasons, but I did watch seasons 41 through 44 to prepare for this. So I know what new era Survivor is like. Really quick before I jump into this season, I just need like 45 seconds of your time. Now, I do my best to remain objective, but I am covering Survivor as a fan of Survivor, but a black woman first. So of course I'm going to give my POV from the POV of a black woman who happens to like Survivor. In seasons 41 and 42, there was a lot of talk about the black experience on Survivor and how some people feel that black people get voted off back to back to back. I have to say I tend to agree with them. Of course, I want the best player to win. I love a really strategic player. When I was watching the older seasons, I fell in love with Rupert, who I really thought should have won. But I digress. It does sting a little bit extra when I see a black person get voted off, just because we really do have that universal black culture connection. So if the occasional mention of the black experience on Survivor is gonna bother you, then this isn't the channel for you, and that's okay. Outside of that, I only have one thing to say: let the blind sides begin. So as I mentioned, in the world of Survivor superfans, I really am a noob. I don't really know when they started doing the 3 tribes in the beginning versus 2 tribes, and I still don't know how I feel about it, but I guess I have to rock with it. I also can't remember if in the new era seasons when they did the sweat or savvy challenge, if the tribes were competing against each other. I feel like they were always competing against the clock, but never against each other. But this season they were competing against each other, and Lulu and Bello lost. So they had to do the sweat or savvy challenge. Now, none of them won, but they did have to compete. So let's get into these tribes and pretty much my first impressions on everyone. I did not pay attention or watch or Google or look up any pre-season content, interviews, anything like that. I wanted to go in fresh and raw, and that's what we're doing. Lulu, this is the yellow team. This entire tribe is hotter than a hot mess. Let's talk about Emily first. Emily's gonna be a hard player, but not a strategic one. She's gonna be a dumb hard player. 45 minutes into the game, she is accusing everyone of being up to something. Like, girl, you need to chill. You are putting a target on your back real quick. And she's making herself look paranoid. And any Survivor fan knows that paranoid people don't last long, especially pre-merge. She's trying to claim that Bruce has some crazy advantage when he literally only spent 5 coherent seconds on season 44. She also seems to think that Sabaya and Caleb took some type of advantage because they didn't win, when the reality is they just were not savvy enough. Now, in her intro, she did say that it's a complete waste of time to play Survivor if you're not gonna win the meal. Some people might agree with that. I don't know if I do, because I think the runner-up does win something, but I get what she's saying. Trust me, I love someone who's gonna play the game hard, but not this early. She's playing way too hard, way too soon. She's bringing the entire tribe down, and she's also a self-proclaimed pessimist. I say this next thing with the utmost respect. Girl needs to sign up for therapy, not Survivor. Sabaya. So Sabaya is a Marine. I'm rooting for her. She is Army strong. Even better than that, she's Marine strong. Marines are tough, so you gotta give her props on that. So I knew that she was gonna be able to do the sweat part of that challenge, but the savvy part did get her, and that's okay. I don't have too much on Caleb this week, but he did climb that wall like he was really playing the game to play the game. I do think that him and Sabaya are gonna be really physically strong players, which may come back to hunt them a little bit later, pre-merge. And Emily's already calling them out for it, so yeah, that might come back to get them. But as of right now, I think they're pretty good, because they probably are the 2 physically strongest people on the Lulu Tribe. So I don't see them going home anytime soon. Brandon. Sweet baby angel Brandon. Where do I even start with him? I genuinely do feel like he was overwhelmed. He was very emotional the moment that they got on the boat. Unfortunately, Survivor isn't a game where you can be an overly emotional and overwhelmed person, especially before the first tribal council. He really did get saved because he was going out. He struggled hard in both that first challenge and the immunity challenge, so he is clearly not a physical threat. I hope that his strategy is fantastic, because he's not about to make it in these challenges. And to be quite honest, post-merge, he probably won't ever win an immunity challenge, so he might want to go ahead and go now. I know that it's emotional. I know that the game is hard, but I feel like maybe he should have practiced at home just a little bit. I mean, in one season, we had somebody who was doing 3D versions of the puzzles. Like, that person came to play. I don't feel like Brandon really came to play. That ladder climb was very embarrassing, very hard to watch. He literally lacked all upper body strength. And look at me, I barely have any upper body strength. But I think that's kind of the point that I'm getting to. And he's only gonna get weaker as the days go on and as he's more and more hungry. I get it. I am an anxious person too. I have diagnosed anxiety, diagnosed ADHD. But then I just wouldn't go on Survivor then. Like, you have to know yourself and you have to know your strengths and your weaknesses. If you know that you're a super anxious person, why are you going on Survivor where you know your anxiety is gonna be on 10? His acid reflux is acting up. He just not gonna make it. He really should have went home. And the fact that it ended up being 3 people who were kind of on the chopping block, Emily was number 1, he was number 2, and he might have ended up going home if Hannah didn't quit. Usually I wouldn't say you should send somebody home based off their performance on days 1 through 3, but Brandon needs to go home. I don't have too much on Sean. I feel like I really only saw him when he was crying at Tribal Council, so not too much on him this week. But I do have some words about Hannah. And before she quit, I was already thinking that she should have went home. She probably should have quit smoking cigarettes well before she was going to be on this show, because her nicotine craving had her mind clouded and has her quitting on a game where she could have won $1 million, which is crazy to me. But even crazier than that, she kept complaining about how she wanted to sleep in her bed, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. You knew when you signed up for Survivor that you weren't gonna have a bed, so what are you talking about? Now, Jeff hates when people quit. In older season, he actually used to be really, really rude about it. I think one season he was like, I'm not gonna snuff your torch because people who get voted off get their torches snuffed and you're quitting, so you don't get that. Let's go ahead and bring that Jeff back because she 100% deserved to not get snuffed. How are you talking about quitting during the first tribal council? Like, at this point, you were wasting all of our time, so it's time for you to go. I'd have a little bit more empathy if this was like day 15 or 20 and she was like, yeah, this is too tough for me at this point. But day 3, you didn't even try really. And yes, I am fully aware that I'm talking a whole lot of shit as someone who will never play the game of Survivor just because I know better. But that's why I'm not gonna play the game of Survivor. The red team, Reba. Everybody loves Reba. She's just a hardworking single mom with some kids doing her best out here. So they win the supplies during the first challenge. So they're already starting off really strong. Seafood. That's how you do it on Survivor. I love that he was out there on day 2 looking for an idol because I like people who play games like that. Like I said, I love someone who's going to be a hard player. I love someone who's a strategic player. You just have to be good at it. I'm looking at you, Emily. Now, he did get caught looking for the idol. So he might not be around for too much longer, but nonetheless, I love that he did it. Now, Austin actually finds the idol. Well, what he really finds is a beware advantage. Now, me personally, I would have put that beware advantage right back where I found it because we already know from prior seasons that you're gonna lose your vote when you open that. And that's exactly what happened. Now, I thought the season where they had the beware advantage and they had to build a necklace or a bracelet or whatever it was out of the Survivor beads, I thought that was hard. But they actually ended up finessing that very well and both people ended up being able to do it. This is gonna be tougher because he literally has to take this code basically and go decipher the tribal flag, which is gonna be really hard unless he gets somebody else in on the fact that he has the advantage. Because let's face it, he can't exactly walk up to the tribal flag and just start being like, let me hold this up and see how to decipher. Like, he's gonna have to get someone to work with him to distract everybody else so that he can do it. I'm interested to see who he picks and how he pulls it off and if he pulls it off. Dee, Drew, Jay, and Julie, I don't really have much on any of them right now. Maybe we'll see more of them next week. Then finally we have the blue team, aka Bello, and we have Bruce. I am so excited for Bruce. I'm so happy he's back. He really did not get a fair shot last time, bumping his head on day 1. He wore a collared shirt this time. You would think that on his second time around, he might wear, I don't know, a sweater, maybe a tank top, something more comfortable, but he came with a collared shirt, so I gotta respect it. We already know how I feel about Emily coming for him and saying that he has an advantage, so I'm not gonna dig in more on that. But he is a little quirky. Now, quirky could either work for him or against him. You know that quirky works when it's obvious that you just, like, that's just you. You just exude quirk. You just exude that type of personality. We saw that with Marianne. I believe the season that she won was season 42. She was super quirky. It just worked for her. But we've also seen quirky people, and none come to mind right now, but I know that there was one girl who was super quirky, and it was just too much for people. So you can be quirky, but you have to know how to work it so that people just don't say you're weird and then vote you off. I'm interested to see how it works out for him. We didn't really get to see that side of him last season because he hit his head so early in the game and was just kind of out of it. So this is really the first time that we're seeing that. Speaking of that, I don't know if anybody else notices, but he was real careful going under that pole during the immunity challenge. He was like, I cannot and I will not have a repeat of last season, like. So I'm gonna go under real slow. And he seemed very happy when he made it. Katara. I believe Katara is the lawyer and she's hiding the fact that she's a lawyer and she's doing a damn good job at it. Jake, who I believe is the other lawyer, she's asking him like, oh, what's it like being a lawyer? You know, playing the real like, did see, oh, I don't know what's happening. But that just makes her really strategic, and they need to watch out for her. She coming for throats later on in the season. Brando. So Brando pretty much proclaimed himself as savvy, and then he wasn't savvy during that challenge to get the flint, so I don't know. I was rooting for him, but he wasn't able to do it. That being said, nobody was able to do it, so maybe it was just hard. I have a feeling we might see that pop up later in the season. Then we have Jake, who now I'm thinking about it, is he the other lawyer? I think he is the other lawyer, but now I'm questioning it because he also lives with his grandma and sleeps in a twin bed. I think he's a baby lawyer. He just became a lawyer. Maybe he isn't making the money yet, and that's why he still lives with his grandma, which is super cute. But I kind of want him to win the $1 million so he can not live with his grandma anymore, you know what I mean? Kendra, again, another quirky person, huge on astrology. I'm not really into that. I mean, I am a Pisces. I do think I fit characteristics of a Pisces sometimes, but it is not my entire personality. For her, I think it is. So she's really going to be going off of vibes and feelings, and that's totally fine. It might work against her because, again, that's kind of quirky, and I don't know if everybody's going to be on board with that for too long. And then Kelly, I can't even say I really remember her too much, so maybe I'll have more on her next week. Survivor is such a fascinating game. There is this balance of wanting to be really, really valuable pre-merge so that you don't get voted off, but you don't want to be too valuable that you just immediately get voted off post-merge. So there is this balance that you have to do. You really have to be good at lying, or at least a little bit of manipulation. You have to have the willpower to possibly not eat for 26 days, and shout out to the OGs who did it for 39. Again, all things I would be terrible at, but I love to watch people play the game. Let's get into a few season 45 hopes and predictions. I personally feel like we are past the era of people hiding the fact that they're looking for idols. I want to see people out there actively looking for idols, just like Sifu did. I want to see people almost racing for the idol, and whoever gets it, gets it. In preparation for covering this season, I did a lot of research, not only by watching old seasons, but also, looking at Reddit threads and just overall seeing what the Survivor Zeitgeist is talking about, because you all do talk and you love it, and I love that. And it seems like you didn't like the fake idols in season 44. Now, I love fake idols. Season 33, episode 14, Jay plays a fake idol confidently, arrogantly, and it was fake. And Jeff was like, this is not real. And it was just such a great moment for Tribal Council. I live for moments like that. I want moments like that in season 45. But I think the difference in the idols played like that and the fake idols in season 44 is that in season 44, the fake idols were provided by production. And there are two potential issues with that. One is that nobody's ever going to be able to trust an idol again because they don't know if it's going to be fake. So maybe people might be less likely to play them out of fear. I don't really see that happening because people are going to play the idol, but we'll see. Two, every single person that now does find an idol is going to hold on to that congratulations paper and maybe use it with a fake idol. So you're never really going to be able to tell if it's real or not. And I can get behind that theory that changes the way that idols are played. So I don't hope that we see any production idols in season 45, but I do hope we see some fake idols played by contestants. Season 33 also had a legacy advantage. I think I would like to see that again. If you don't remember what that was, it could be used basically if you made it to day 36. It's kind of like a high five for making it, and it basically counted as an idol at that tribal council. This was a very interesting start to season 45. We had somebody quit before episode 2. So interesting to say the least. We have a tribe who doesn't look like they're gonna really be able to pull much out of it pre-merge, and that's Lulu. So yeah, I can't wait to see where the season is going. I'll be here each week to discuss each new episode right here with my makeshift buff. I'll either have my videos up Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, just depending on how long the video is and how long it takes me to edit, but Wednesday or Thursday, I'll have my commentary up. If you want to keep in touch outside of this video, subscribe to my channel or come hang out with us over on Discord, and I'll see you next time. Subscribe. I can't believe I just recorded that twice. I had to record that twice because the first one was out of focus on the camera. It was focusing on my decor instead of my face. And I might do a lot of things, but I'm not posting blurry content to YouTube. So yeah, I just set myself probably back an hour on editing, but I'm gonna do it. Now we already know how I feel about Emily. Well, she is an enemy. My best to remain, what's the word? 5 cohesive seconds. 5 coherent. When he really, I think it, and both people.
Better at Coachella, I went to see Chica, she with the CC trip. Perfect, I took a seat on the ice, cold on. She handed me an ice blue bong, whatever.